Hi, welcome to Unmatched Real Talk. My name is Yesenia and I'll be your host. With over 25 years of experience within the industry, from lease-ups to stabilized assets to condo conversions, affordable housing, workforce housing communities, I've been able to be hands-on every step of the way. From acquisitions to dispositions to compliance strategies, fair housing laws, Florida Live Local Act, we've been able to navigate through those channels. A little bit about me and why I've decided to share this podcast with you. Most recently, I published my first short story book, The Power of Women in Leadership. Very passionate about leadership. I've learned throughout the years the importance of trust and building high-performing, successful teams. The importance of how our property managers and regional managers need to really fill the gap between the corporate world and the on-site teams. The on-site teams need more support. They need more mentoring. They need true leadership to be there, not only hands-on, but to act as their coach, be their number one fan. And I've learned that through my own experiences. So through this podcast, why did I decide to bring this to you? Well, I really started the industry in 1998. And you're saying, wow, 1998. Yeah, I moved. I was born and raised here in Miami. I'm the only daughter, the little sister of two great brothers. And my family is Cuban. My parents came from Cuba at a very young age, and me and my brothers were born here in our hometown, Miami, Florida. And I decided to move to Redmond, Washington. And as a part-time job, I started as a leasing consultant. And I just worked my way through. Once I relocated back home, to my surprise, I applied for a leasing consultant position, and they told me that I was overqualified, that I needed to apply for the assistant property manager position. So at that point, it was summer 1999. I was an assistant property manager, and I was learning all about this industry. Still very young, still understanding the ins and the outs. And at that point, I navigated through about 9 months before I reached a promotion. And at that point, with Westdale Asset Management, I was promoted to property manager. Really excited, great team. I learned a lot. I actually met my husband, my father of my children, at this location. And we've really navigated the last 25 plus years together. I have two beautiful kids. One, my great son, Lorenzo, and my brave and bold daughter, Gabriela. They're both university students at this point and working part-time and being my number one fan and pushing through. So a little bit of fast forward back to where I was. From that point forward, I went over to a great opportunity and I moved over to Housing Trust Group as a multi-site property manager. At that point, I was overseeing senior housing and I was overseeing tax credit, Section 8. And I learned about housing opportunities and the importance of the housing and how much it really meant to the people, how much the people really couldn't afford first-time home and they needed a roof. They needed a roof for themselves and for their children. And it was just something that really grew within myself to be passionate about it and just to understand more and more. So like most of you, you either love or really don't like this industry. You either get the language or you don't. It's either one. It's really no in between, I think. And from that point forward, I've been in the industry since. I did step out of residential for a little bit, which was in 2004 when I had Lorenzo. And I decided to have Gabby in 2005 back to back. And at that point, I tapped into a small firm in Coral Gables with commercial real estate. And a few years after that, I went back to my passion, and my passion was residential. And I started with a great group, great leadership. And at that point, I was doing condo conversions. It was something that was very hot here in the Miami market. And we were able to do great capital projects, interior and exterior. And although I really was looking forward to just, moving up, upper management really didn't have the opportunity at that point for me to have, that promotion. So I met someone really great in the industry, and they gave me the opportunity, and I took a leap of faith in 2020 in the height of COVID. And it was the best experience. At that point, I went into workforce housing, and it was quite an experience. In about a little bit over 5.5 years, I learned about people. I learned about soft skills, not just hard skills. I learned about the importance of this industry. I learned about, acquisitions, dispositions, performas, investments, how important it is for the owners to understand why are we not meeting the performas? What are we doing? What are we not doing? What is the competition doing? And where are we coming up short? How to become unique? How to have your team ongoing? How to retain your top talent? So, it all boils down to leadership. It all boils down to how motivated are you? How motivated and committed are you to really create the next leader? Because it's not about being just a leader, but it's about bringing everybody else on board. How do you push through everybody else? And I think, yes, it's hard, and we have wins and we have setbacks, and obviously we have challenges, but how do you navigate that and still keep a high-performing team? Keep it together. And honestly, today I've learned that, yes, there's different elements to that, but it's most definitely the foundation is leadership. And at that point, it led for me to publish my first short book, and that was in April of 2025, which I would love for each one of you to read, and you will learn a little bit more about my journey. And I actually shared on there how the lease-up strategies and the lease-up timeline is really in 4 phases, and how you could create that and have your on-site team understand that. It's not just about to tell them, hey, we need you to lease up and, have 30 move-ins per month. No, why do you need them to do that? Have them understand the whys, have them be part of the concept, have them understand why we need them to do that. And as long as they feel valued and they're part of it and everybody is a piece of the puzzle, believe me, you're going to have a true team. You're going to have a team that's not only going to perform, but it's going to want to give your 100%. It's going to be loyal. It's not going to be perfect, but who is? Nobody is. Nobody's perfect. And that's what we're going to talk about in this podcast. So the book really dives into, different strategies, the power of women in leadership. You could pick them up in Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, and I'm sure you're going to, have great feedback. And I would love for you to comment on that and share that with me so it could prepare me to be better for all you for my next book. That's what I really want. And then why am I here? I said, how can I continue giving back to my regional managers, my managers, my multifamily professionals, those leasing agents that want to become a property manager, who could keep, voting for them and making them your number one fan. And I said, I think a podcast would really bring great insights. It would bring real stories, real challenges, practical solutions, strategies. We want to talk about the tools. We want to talk about the insights. We want to talk about real examples, not only from my perspective and my experience, but obviously from the experts. It's going to be a great podcast where I'm going to hopefully deliver to you every week is my commitment to have a guest, from the multifamily industry, whether it's a legal advisor or it's somebody who's going to bring practical solutions, a developer, a property manager, a regional manager, an investor, and somebody who, even from the lending side, who's really going to bring us a different lens and understand how they view what we need to do next in this real evolving and, as we know, fast-paced environment. So I think, that this podcast is going to be a great way for us to connect and for us to really understand what do we need to do in the next steps and how do we overcome this together. I think that, it's really important to talk about the mental health and the mentorship and why do we need that? Well, this is an industry that you come in with a to-do list and you practically don't even get to your to-do list, and you still got reporting, and we're still expecting a lot more from the on-site teams. We're expecting them to have the action, the magic, have all the ingredients and high execution at a rapid pace. And what do we need to do to deliver to them all the tools in that toolbox? That's the most important thing. How can we help them be successful? We want to be the ones who have, the players out there, but understand also the players in the competition. How are we going to be the game changers? How are we going to make it different? We want to make it different. We want to be unique, right? And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to navigate that with your feedback, to navigate that with experts, operators, developers, and hear their sides, hear their stories, and understand how can we do something differently. I remember this one time, I practically about 3.5 years ago, or maybe a little more. I remember that, there was this young lady who she had been to 3 different complexes before she had, visited our complex. And she was just frustrated because she had applied. They would call her a week later to tell her she was approved. But then it was almost like she had to wait another week to know her move-in date, and she was ready to jump all over it. She had outstanding credit. She had no issues with that, no issues with her background, but it was no communications, no follow-up. There was no engagement, no customer service. So I think today, because we've got all this AI and we've got great AI tools, I think we're sometimes forgetting that we're human capital. Really, property management evolves around people. People are the reason why this industry continues. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. There's no need to do that. We know the foundation of the industry, and now we just got to navigate everything else that's thrown at us, whether it's positive or negative. And obviously, the negative is going to be lessons learned, and that's what we want to talk about. So I hope that you really enjoy this journey, because I'm really excited for us to get through. And, we've already got a couple of folks that are going to be with us in the next 3 episodes. And hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as I do. And I'm going to be looking forward for your comments. And I'm going to make sure that I answer those comments and that I bring to you exactly what you want to hear.